Peter the Great or Peter I was born on 9 June 1672 and ruled the Tsardom of Russia until his death in 1725, jointly ruling before 1696 with his elder half-brother, Ivan V. Through a number of successful wars, he expanded the Tsardom into a much larger empire that became a major European power and also laid the groundwork for the Russian navy after capturing ports at Azov and the Baltic Sea. He led a cultural revolution that replaced some of the traditionalist and medieval social and political systems with ones that were modern, scientific, westernized and based on the Enlightenment. Peter's reforms had a lasting impact on Russia, and many institutions of the Russian government trace their origins to his reign. He is also known for founding and developing the city of St. Petersburg, which remained the capital of Russia until 1917. Named after the Apostle, from an early age Peter's education, commissioned by his father, Tsar Alexis of Russia, was put in the hands of several tutors, most notably Nikita Zotov, Patrick Gordon, and Paul Menesius. On 29 January 1676, Tsar Alexis died, leaving the sovereignty to Peter's elder half-brother, the weak and sickly, Fyodor III of Russia. Throughout this period, the government was largely run by Artemon Matveyev, an enlightened friend of Alexis, the political head of the Narishkin family and one of Peter's greatest childhood benefactors. This position changed when Fyodor died in 1682. Peter's other half-brother, Ivan V of Russia, was next in line for the throne, but he was chronically ill and of infirm mind. Consequently, the Boyar Duma, a council of Russian nobles, chose the 10-year-old Peter to become Tsar with his mother as regent. Power was exercised by his mother, Natalia Narishkina. It was only when Natalia died in 1694 that Peter became an independent sovereign. Formally, Ivan V remained a co-ruler with Peter, although he was ineffective. Peter was 24 years old when he became the sole ruler after Ivan died in 1696. He implemented sweeping reforms aimed at modernizing Russia. Heavily influenced by his advisors from Western Europe, Peter reorganized the Russian army along modern lines and dreamed of making Russia a maritime power. He faced much opposition to these policies at home but brutally suppressed rebellions against his authority, including by the Streltsy, Bashkirs, Astrakhan, and the greatest civil uprising of his reign, the Bulovan Rebellion. Peter implemented social modernization in an absolute manner by introducing French and Western dress to his court and requiring courtiers, state officials, and the military to shave their beards and adopt modern clothing styles. In his process to westernize Russia, he wanted members of his family to marry other European royalty. In the past, his ancestors had been snubbed at the idea, but now, it was proving fruitful. He negotiated with Frederick William, Duke of Courland, to marry his niece, Anna Ivanovna. He used the wedding in order to launch his new capital, St. Petersburg, where he had already ordered building projects of westernized palaces and buildings. Peter hired Italian and German architects to design it. As part of his reforms, Peter started an industrialization effort that was slow but eventually successful. Russian manufacturing and main exports were based on the mining and lumber industries. For example, by the end of the century Russia came to export more iron than any other country in the world. To improve his nation's position on the seas, Peter sought to gain more maritime outlets. His only outlet at the time was the White Sea at Arkhangelsk. The Baltic Sea was at the time controlled by Sweden in the north, while the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea were controlled by the Ottoman Empire and Safavid Empire respectively in the south. He launched about 30 ships against the Ottomans in 1696, capturing Azov in July of that year. On 12 September 1698, Peter officially founded the first Russian navy base, Taganrog. Peter decided that all of the children of the nobility should have some early education, especially in the areas of sciences. Therefore, on 28 February 1714, he issued a decree calling for compulsory education, which dictated that all Russian 10 to 15-year-old children of the nobility, government clerks, and lesser-ranked officials must learn basic mathematics and geometry, and should be tested on the subjects at the end of their studies. Peter's last years were marked by further reform in Russia. On the 22nd of October 1721, soon after peace was made with Sweden, he was officially proclaimed Emperor of all Russia. The once powerful Persian Safavid Empire to the south was heavily declining. Taking advantage of the profitable situation, Peter launched the Russo-Persian War of 1722–1723, otherwise known as the Persian Expedition of Peter the Great, which drastically increased Russian influence for the first time in the Caucasus and Caspian Sea region, and prevented the Ottoman Empire from making territorial gains in the region. In the winter of 1723, Peter, whose overall health was never robust, began having problems with his urinary tract and bladder. In early January 1725, Peter was struck once again with uremia. Legend has it that before lapsing into unconsciousness Peter asked for a paper and pen and scrawled an unfinished note that read, "Leave all to," and then, exhausted by the effort, asked for his daughter Anna to be summoned. Peter died in the morning of 8 February 1725. An autopsy revealed his bladder to be infected with gangrene. He was 52 years when he died, having reigned 42 years. He is interred in Saints Peter and Paul Cathedral, St. Petersburg, Russia.